Car manufacturers are no strangers to innovation. Sometimes, though, they get a little, let's say, creative. Over the years, we've seen some weird, wild, and downright wacky factory features that make you wonder who the greenlit this. Today, we are diving into the strangest factory features ever put into production cars. From quirky little gadgets to ideas that were way ahead of their time to ideas that maybe should have been left alone, these features are pretty much as weird as they are fascinating, and let's get into it.
Okay, let's go.
Depending on when you watch this, by the way, Black Friday sale may or may not be live. Click the link down below to pick up some new wheels either way. So let's kick things off with the Mazda Cosmo, a car that most people in the US have never even heard of. Released in 1990, this luxury coupe wasn't just a head turner, it was a technological flex for Mazda. Under the hood, Mazda chucked in the 20B REW, a twin-turbocharged three-rotor rotary engine that was way ahead of time, but what really set the Cosmo apart was its touchscreen infotainment system. You might be saying, Jake, touchscreens aren't that big of a deal, but this was a touchscreen in 1990. This system controlled everything from navigation, again, in 1990, to climate controls, and it even displayed live engine telemetry. This was 30 years before Tesla made touchscreens cool, and Mazda did it first. The interface was not exactly iPhone-level smooth, but hey, it was the 90s. For a car aimed at executives in Japan, the Cosmo delivered high-tech luxury that no one saw coming. Now, the Subaru XT, or Alcyon, if you're in Japan, was already a weird-looking car. Picture a wedge on wheels, no, not like a Cybertruck, with pop-up headlights and a spaceship vibe. But inside, things got even stranger. Instead of traditional climate control buttons, the XT had a joystick, like a literal joystick, like it belonged in a fighter jet, not a Subaru. You could slide it around to adjust the temperature and the fan speed, which sounds cool in theory, but in practice, it was hilariously impractical. Subaru leaned hard into the futuristic cockpit feel, and while it was weird, it definitely made the XT stand out. Now, luxury cars are always about flexing the latest tech, and back in the 90s, having a car phone was the height of sophistication. The BMW E38 7 Series took it a step further by integrating a full-on phone dock into the center armrest. The phone wasn't just for show. You could actually pick it up and make calls. It was wired into the car's sound system, so you could speak hands-free long before Bluetooth was even considered. Sure, it sounds basic now, but in the late 90s, having a literal phone booth on wheels made you a baller shot caller. Heck, you even probably had 20-inch blades on your Impala. Plus, shout out Paid in Full for making phones and cars cool. The Toyota Crown is a luxury sedan, Japanese market only, that is all about pampering passengers, especially in its higher trim levels. In the Crown Majesta model, Toyota decided that regular cup holders just weren't gonna cut it for the Japanese executives that were gonna be riding around in it. Instead, they put a freaking mini fridge in the rear armrest. Designed for executives and heads of state being chauffeured around, this fridge was perfect for keeping drinks cold on long trips. It's the kind of feature that screams, I'm living better than you, which, to be honest, is kind of the whole point of buying a Crown Majesta.
No! Hell no! No!
Now, SAAB, RIP, was always a little different, and that's what we loved about it. One of the weirdest features SAAB introduced was its night panel mode. In the 900 and 9-3 models, when activated, the night panel would dim all the interior lights except the speedo. The idea was to reduce distraction during nighttime driving, keeping your focus on the road. It's oddly thoughtful and something you'd probably see today. It was very SAAB, but it also feels like something out of a spy movie. Night vision goggles, of course, sold separately. Now, the Pontiac AZTEK. Yes, it was a design disaster, but shout out Breaking Bad for making it cool. It did have one feature that was actually kind of brilliant and inspired like a whole industry later. Pontiac offered an optional camping pack that included a tent attachment for the rear hatch and an inflatable air mattress that fit perfectly in the cargo area. Was it weird? Yeah, absolutely it was. It wouldn't be in this video otherwise. But for outdoorsy types who didn't care about seeing in an Aztek, all three of you, it was a surprisingly practical feature. And hey, Walter White made it kind of cool. When you think of Rolls-Royce, you think of luxury, and nothing screams opulence like, and this isn't really a weird one, but it's kind of weird, we've kind of normalized it, it's the Starlight headliner. It turns the roof of your car into a night sky complete with fiber optic stars that can even twinkle. The idea is simple. Simulate the look of lying under the stars, but inside a car that costs more than my house. It's unnecessary, it's ridiculous, and it's utterly Rolls-Royce, but stop putting these in your squatted trucks. It will never be a Rolls-Royce. The first-gen Dodge Viper, we have a separate video on this one. We're going to link it here somewhere. It was a raw, no-frills muscle car that barely had seatbelts, let alone air. But Dodge still thought safety was important. Kind of. That's why some early Vipers came with a factory-installed fire extinguisher mounted in the passenger footwell, because Dodge knew there was like an 80-20 chance you were going to catch fire. Dodge wanted you to be ready if the 8-liter V10 got a little too hot on track. It's not exactly reassuring, but it's definitely unique and arguably very practical. Here's one we didn't get in the US, the CITROEN DS. It was a super weird car in all the best ways, from its hydropneumatic suspension to its futuristic design. The DS felt like it was a car conceptualized by aliens from another planet. One of its most bizarre features was the single-spoke steering wheel. CITROEN claimed the design was safer because in the event of a crash, there was less for your face to hit. Whether or not it works, that was debatable, but one thing for sure, it looked like nothing else on the road, and it probably inspired the yoke design, all things considered. Now, leave it to Tesla, speaking of the yoke, to name an air filtration system something as dramatic as bioweapon defense mode. Found in the Model S and the Model X, this feature uses a massive HEPA filter to keep out harmful particles and pollutants from the cabin. While it's marketed as a way to survive apocalyptic scenarios, it's really just a super fancy air purifier. Still, it's one of those features that if you ever need it, it's probably great to have, and I hope you never need it. So what's the deal? Why do manufacturers do this? Why do they make these weird features? Well, sometimes it's about pushing boundaries and trying new things to implement as later technology that kind of trickles down into other models. Other times, it's just about standing out in a crowded marketplace, and occasionally, it's about solving problems most people didn't even realize that they had. Whatever the reason might be, these quirky features make cars more interesting and more fun. They remind us that automakers aren't just building machines to sell units to meet their bottom line and make shareholders happy. They're building things that are fun experiences. From fighter jet joysticks to starlit ceilings, these features might not always make sense or be the most practical, but they make cars more fun. They give us something to talk about, something to remember, and something that when it breaks 10 years down the line costs us $4,800. And honestly, we could use more of that in today's world of touchscreen everything in your car. What's your favorite weird feature on a car? Let us know in the comments down below. Maybe we'll talk about it in the next video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit the like button if you like this one. Hit the subscribe button. Drop a comment down below. Check out our website if you need wheels, tires, suspension, performance, exhaust. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I will see you in the next one.